One of the best things about diving is that there's always something new to try and someplace new to find underwater adventure. But some divers miss out on some of the best diving because they think cold water takes the fun out of diving. It doesn't. Being cold does. Thanks to today's dry suits, you can dive in comfort in colder water, and that means that dry suit diving can open whole new underwater worlds you might not see otherwise. To understand dry suit diving, let's begin with a look at why you get cold underwater. We'll compare how dry suits and wet suits differ. Next, we'll go over the different types of dry suit construction, the undergarments you wear under them for insulation, and the appropriate weight systems, BCDs, and argon inflation systems you may use with dry suits. This provides the basis for understanding diving with a dry suit and about dry suit safety and handling emergencies. Finally, we'll cover basic dry suit maintenance and dry suit repairs. Practically everyone knows that water makes you cold faster than air at the same temperature. But have you ever asked yourself why? It's because water has a higher heat capacity than air. In other words, a given volume of water can absorb significantly more heat than the same volume of air. Thanks to its high heat capacity, water carries away heat about 25 times faster than air. It's a pretty warm day if it's 27 degrees Celsius or 80 degrees Fahrenheit. But in water the same temperature, even a swimmer cools pretty quick. Without an exposure suit, water has to be about 34 degrees Celsius, 93 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer for your body to keep up with heat loss. As we'll discuss in a moment, an exposure suit slows heat loss underwater. But while we say casually that a wet or dry suit keeps you warm, it's more accurate to say that it delays how long it takes to get cold. In most diving situations, given enough time, you'll lose enough heat to become uncomfortable. But with the ideal suit for the temperature, you finish the dive before you get too cool. There are 8 variables that affect how fast you lose heat in water. First, there's the water temperature. And second, how long you're exposed to the water. The insulating qualities of your exposure suit is a third. Your body's ability to generate heat is a fourth variable. People with more muscle mass tend to stay warmer, but your overall metabolism rate, and even whether you're hungry or not, affects how much heat your body generates. A fifth influence on how fast you lose heat is how much fat tissue you have. Fat tissue insulates and tends to help you retain heat. 6. Body shape affects heat loss. A high surface area to weight retains less heat, so generally thin, tall people tend to lose heat faster than shorter, heavier people, all things being equal. And 7th, you acclimate to water temperatures both physically and psychologically. Divers in cooler climates usually consider tropical water warm, but people who live in tropics find it cool and need more insulation. Finally, your activity level plays a part. If you're swimming around a lot, you generate more heat than if you stay in one place the entire dive. Getting too cold not only takes the fun out of diving, but it has some safety concerns. Our bodies function in a very narrow core temperature range centered around 37 degrees Celsius, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. If the core temperature drops below this range, a diver experiences hypothermia. Even mild hypothermia can be dangerous. Initial signs and symptoms include uncontrollable shivering, extremity numbness, extremity blueness, fatigue and drowsiness. If it continues, the diver's decision-making abilities, strength, and endurance diminish. As hypothermia becomes severe, shivering stops, confusion sets in, followed by unconsciousness and eventually death. So remember, treat shivering as a warning sign, no matter what the water temperature or what kind of suit you're wearing. If you shiver uncontrollably, end the dive and seek warmth at once. As you probably know, there are three basic types of exposure suits: body suits, wet suits, and dry suits. Body suits, or skin suits, have some insulating qualities, but they're primarily to protect you from sunburn and abrasion. So let's focus on wet suits and dry suits. Wet suits and dry suits both insulate you, but in different ways. A wetsuit is made of foam neoprene, which is a good insulator. When you start your dive, a thin water layer seeps in between the neoprene and your skin and gets trapped. Your body quickly heats this water, then heat loss slows because heat transfers slowly through the neoprene. However, the trapped water does nothing to slow heat loss. It still carries heat away as fast as it's lost through the neoprene to the water beyond. It's only the neoprene that insulates you. Thicker neoprene provides more insulation. Dry suits, on the other hand, are watertight suits made of different materials that we'll talk about in a moment. The suit, and usually an undergarment, insulate like a wetsuit's neoprene, but you're also surrounded by gas, air, or sometimes argon. Air's lower heat capacity slows heat transfer away from your skin, in addition to the undergarment and dry suit insulation. Unlike in a wetsuit, everything between you and the water outside the suit retards heat loss. This is why a dry suit insulates better. By adding insulation layers, you reduce heat loss further. Using argon insulates better because it has about half the heat capacity of air and conducts heat even slower. We'll talk more about using argon in a bit. With modern dry suits in good repair, most divers remain completely dry, though perspiration causes some normal dampness. A few divers, especially those with lean arms, experience minor leakage, mainly around wrist seals when your movements create momentary channels that let in water. You can avoid this somewhat by putting the wrist seals higher on your arm. Even with this occasional minor leakage, a dry suit lets you stay comfortable longer than a wetsuit and make more or longer dives in cooler water. You use air faster when you're cold, so you'll probably find you use less air when dry suit diving. And unlike wetsuits, which lose insulation as you go deeper due to compression, most dry suits insulate just as well deep as shallow. Other dry suit advantages include that you can vary your insulation to match the water temperature, and dry suits don't have to fit so snugly, so they're more forgiving when you're trying to find one the right size. And after a dive, wet wetsuits can make you colder due to evaporative cooling. Most dry suits don't have this problem, and the undergarments keep you warm after you take the suit off. Of course, dry suits do have their drawbacks. For one, they cost more than comparable quality wetsuits, though they have a long lifespan and your cost per dive is usually lower. Dry suits tend to have a bit more drag when you're swimming, and you may need to wear a bit more weight. If you expect your dry suit to give you reliable, dry, warm dives, you have to give it more pre-dive and post-dive care than a wetsuit. This even includes how you fold and carry it to and from the dive. So, there's no one right suit for all diving. You choose your exposure suit based on the water temperature, the weather, how long you plan to be in the water, how easily you chill, how much you'll be exercising, how deep you'll be, and how well you personally generate and retain heat. For cooler water, you'll usually want to choose a dry suit. Like all dive equipment, you can choose from a variety of dry suits with different features, which we'll look at in a moment. But all dry suits have special watertight zippers, seals at the neck and wrists, an inflator valve, and an exhaust valve. You need a special watertight zipper so you have an opening for getting into and out of your suit and still keep the water out when you're wearing it. Dry suit zippers grew out of zippers originally designed for spacesuits. Dry suit zippers are reliable, but they're one of the most expensive and sensitive parts of your suit, so you need to give them proper care. Different dry suits have zippers located in different places. Across the shoulders is the most common zipper location, but you need someone to zip and unzip for you. Diagonally from hip to shoulder is a self-don design that makes it possible to get into and out of the suit without help or with little assistance to get started. The horizontal waist zipper also provides self-donning. Which is best? The one you like the best. Dry suits also have seals at the neck and wrists. Seals may be made of latex rubber like these, or neoprene like these. Latex seals are the easiest to put on and take off, to adjust size and to replace if necessary. But they're also the easiest to damage, and they don't insulate and cause cold spots unless there's insulation over or under them. You can get two types of neoprene seals, flat sealing, which are the simplest to put on, and fold under, which are commonly used as neck seals, but also available for wrist seals. Neoprene seals may last longer than latex seals and they insulate, but replacing them is harder and size adjustment takes longer. They also stretch with use, whereas high-quality latex seals don't. Again, the best for you is the type you like best. Some dry suits have interchangeable seals, though these are most commonly used in rental dry suits. Keep in mind that seals can leak when you make a fist, forming channels under a seal, when there's dirt or hair under a seal, or if you vent air through a seal. But you can usually avoid this leakage through proper donning and diving techniques. A damaged seal may leak quite a bit, and hair under your neck seal will drizzle cold water down your back throughout a dive. When you buy your dry suit, you'll get neoprene seals sized approximately to your neck and wrists, but you may need to adjust them so they're snug, but not uncomfortable. It's best to have seals adjusted by someone trained and experienced in it, but it's not difficult if you're careful. Latex seals are usually tapered so that you can make them larger by trimming them. Have someone hold the seal where you trim off no more than about 5 millimeters, a quarter of an inch. If in doubt, under-trim. You can always retrim if it's still too tight after a dive, but if you cut off too much, you'll have to replace the seal. You don't trim neoprene seals, but stretch them overnight on something that's round and about the right size. Again, air slightly tight if in doubt, and leave room for the seal to stretch further with use. Stretch seals too big, and you'll have to replace them. But never wear a neck seal that's uncomfortably tight because it can trigger the carotid sinus reflex. This is when the seal presses on the carotid arteries in the neck, which the body mistakes for high blood pressure. In response, the heartbeat slows and less blood reaches the brain, but the pressure is still there, so the heart slows further. Eventually, a diver can faint because of inadequate blood reaching the brain. A seal tight enough to cause carotid sinus reflex will usually be uncomfortable and make the diver feel lightheaded before losing consciousness, so you can avoid this problem by not diving with an uncomfortably tight neck seal. A dry suit surrounds you with an airspace that you need to equalize when you descend. That's what the inflator valve does. It works like your BCD inflator to add air or argon to your suit to prevent a squeeze and to maintain your buoyancy. The inflator valve connects to your regulator, or if you're using argon, to a small tank with a special regulator. The inflator's usually in the center of the chest, but you can have it located elsewhere if you prefer. Remember to disconnect the low-pressure hose before taking your scuba unit off, and to connect it after you put it on. When you ascend, you need to release expanding gas from your dry suit to prevent excess buoyancy. You do this by pressing on the dry suit exhaust valve while raising it, which usually means ascending with your feet down and raising your left shoulder slightly. You can set the exhaust valves on most modern dry suits to vent automatically. You adjust the valve to hold the amount of gas you want in the suit. We'll go over this in detail when we look at dry suit diving techniques. When you ascend, you set the valve all the way open so the maximum expanding gas escapes automatically. Of course, you can vent manually at any time just by pressing on the valve. You can choose from a lot of different materials in a dry suit. Tri-laminate material is one of the more expensive materials, but it's lightweight for travel, easy to repair, and lasts a long time. Coated fabric suits have most of the same advantages as tri-laminate, and some types are less expensive, but the lower cost types don't last as long, so may actually be more expensive in the long run. Vulcanized rubber suits are some of the toughest, which makes them popular with commercial divers. They're easy to repair, but they're the heaviest. Like tri-laminate, they cost a bit more than other types, but they last long enough to be a good buy in the long run. Crushed neoprene is wetsuit material intentionally crushed to eliminate its buoyancy or insulation. It's very comfortable, durable, and long-lasting, making them popular with wreck divers. They're easy to repair, but you have to dry them first, which can take a while. And like a wetsuit, you can get a bit of evaporative cooling out of water. They cost about the same as tri-laminate, but are one of the longest-lasting suits. The first modern dry suits were made of wetsuit neoprene like this. Unlike all the other types, neoprene dry suits require no undergarment for warmth unless you dive deep. They're comfortable and moderately priced and easy to repair like crushed neoprene. The primary drawbacks are that they lose insulation with depth, and over time, just like a wetsuit, you have evaporative cooling out of water, and they require the most weight. Obviously, the best dry suit material is a compromise of characteristics and economics. That's why you might want to choose a composite suit, which uses two materials. This suit uses crushed neoprene from the waist down for maximum comfort while swimming and durability in the high wear leg area. Above the waist, tri-laminate makes the suit lighter and more compact for traveling. In addition to the dry suit itself, you need to keep your head, hands, and feet warm. For your head, you'll use one of a variety of hoods. For many dry suits, you use a wetsuit hood without a bib. Other dry suits provide a warm neck collar to hold a hood bib over a latex neck seal. Latex hoods are usually dry hoods attached to the suit, though there's a neck seal too in case the hood leaks. Latex hoods require an undergarment skull cap for insulation. Virtually all quality dry suits made today have built-in boots, but you can choose from degrees of ruggedness ranging from standard boots to heavy-duty hard sole types. In recreational diving, the usual practice is to use wetsuit gloves with your dry suit. In colder water, three-finger mitts give you the most warmth. In moderately cool water, standard 5-finger gloves offer some dexterity. And in water above 12 degrees Celsius, 54 degrees Fahrenheit, some divers cut the fingertips off for more dexterity at the sacrifice of some warmth and hand protection. You tend to be hard on the knees, so knee pads help protect the suit. You can get similar pads for the elbows, buttocks, or other areas. Utility pockets on the thigh come in handy, though add some drag, and many divers like a knife pocket. Suspenders hold the suit uniformly and prevent sagging at the waist, with the side advantage of holding the suit up when you're wearing it between dives. Telescoping torsos provide extra suit length for getting into a self-donning suit. The extra length folds back over itself once you have it on and gives you some adjustability in the suit's fit. Most significantly, it accordions in and out when you bend at the waist or raise your arms, giving you more room to move without making the suit baggy. This is especially useful with materials that don't stretch, like trilaminate.